It's March 15th, 2022. I was watching David Muir last night, March 14th, 2022, on World News Tonight, and I found something on his scheduled program on the television about the Arctic and the U.S., which usually this is what, and I want to make sure that we're in unison here. This is the flag that the U.S. in my area. I'm in the 48 continent area, the region in the middle. This is what the local schools are calling us. They're calling us Americans. I just want to make sure the U.S. is aware of what they tell the children in school, since their marker is there. Now, what's interesting is it's an admirable called an admiral, and his last name is Houston. Houston, I just want to let you know New York has a problem with landscaping. Just saying. It's not a problem until the ratios get out of order. It goes into other things like a frightening UN. There's a representative that sits at this UN who says it's an ambassador to the U.S. Now, I've heard that some of the admirables it says directly on this broadcast to New York area, where there's a lot of mixed aggregate from the U.S. Embassy imbeciles elsewhere that somehow got their problems from those territories sent to the U.S. 48 garden of supposed to be neat and tidy up to a certain ratio. Otherwise, like, other people start to get a little concerned. I'd be one of those concerned patrons at the moment, based on what New York is functioning on or within. I also saw what Washington, D.C.'s police person is, or mayor person. I know what my mayor person or claimed mayor person looks like. They look like they could be cousins. Not necessarily a problem right off the bat, but there's theatrical problems within the whole aggregate of the agitation of so much time going on that it leads to a problem. Now, here's the thing. This admirable Houston, he says that they are not concerned about themselves at the moment in the U.S. They take their whatever from civilian. Now, this is an interesting thing, Admiral Houston. You should know that in New York, I'm not a U.S. Embassy imbecile. I have not been educated in foreign nationals trying to embed and terrorize the domestic nationals. So I'm uneducated on the ways of their... I'm more simplistic. But it says, so the civil thing, the word you use, what concerns me is there was this civil uprising from I don't know where, somewhere they claim is south of my New York position. And then all of a sudden, it feels like there's a media blackout and there's a black market that's opened up, and they're pretty much pushing... This is my heritage, my other heritage flag. I went in field office. I went to this flag. I landed there once. If they say wave the white flag, this is what I would be waving. I would not be waiving this because this looks like an U.S. Embassy imbecile project of foreign nationals trying to terrorize domestic nationals within the intercontinental 48 states at the moment, in all seriousness. But this is what the news says, and this is how they say that there's functions going on without giving away whatever.
Turn now to it.
So this gentleman is called David Muir. This is the station that he reports on to the U.S. domestic, was born here, but have lost communications with an intelligent community. I don't know how or where they set themselves up.
To an ABC News exclusive. We're with the U.S. Navy tonight in the Arctic, where Russia is also looking to expand its presence there as well. But what the U.S. Navy is now doing, and Kana Whitworth is with them.
We are heading to the front lines of what's been called a very cold war. Here in the Arctic, where temperature...
So now this is not considered classified information, I'm assuming, because it's on public broadcast. This little articulation here, I know, makes some people nervous with this water in between, but I don't know what else to say. I'd be more concerned about the U.S. Embassy imbeciles that have infiltrated New York and is terrorizing the domestic nationals inside the United States that used to know. I don't have a white flag per se, but the Irish flag is the closest. I saw in my history, in my grandmother's history, she reported when she lived in Belfast that they all looked just like her. And the only thing they fought over was, some were called protest ants. Say it fast, it reads Protestants, but protest ants. And then the others were Catholic. But they both looked exactly like they could be cousins or brothers. Just one was protest, two different labels, same people, same area, same white flag, or Irish flag, or whatever. But there was a purpose, because that's the whitest population, the last whitest population I found on Earth. I actually physically went and landed there. I didn't have much opportunity or time, but when my feet landed there, they were certainly all the same tribe.
Temperatures hover around -20 degrees. The U.S. Navy is conducting 3 weeks of drills with a sharp eye on nearby Russia. They've set up camp on an ice floe 160 miles away from land, but the real action is underwater.
So here it is, the USS Cattaruzza has just come up through the Arctic ice. You can see sort of the front of it right there, and this part's coming up all the way through the ice. That's our ride.
The Pasadena is one of 2 attack submarines in the region. It has a steel reinforced sail, allowing it to punch up through the Arctic ice as thick as 5 feet or more.
Welcome aboard.
All right, let's go.
Below the surface, the Navy trains to find and evade enemy subs.
There's a lot of people who'd like to hide from the U.S. submarine force. I just say they're not very successful.
They also practice launching torpedoes. Divers then retrieving each one for data collection. It comes as Russia seeks to expand its presence in the Arctic, just last month holding its own military exercise in the Barents Sea. Admiral Houston telling me Vladimir Putin is never far from his mind.
Is there concern from you that he could advance militarily in the Arctic?
I'm not concerned about really any threat. We are ready as a submarine force. We will execute orders as directed by our civilian leadership, and we are postured and ready.
And David, they do this kind of training every 2 years, but this year, amid heightened tensions, Admiral Houston calls these exercises absolutely key, saying...
Did she say Admiral Houston? I just want to make sure, because I know I've met Houston, and I saw on another TV program there was a Houston spelled differently, but this is Houston.
Saying that it's vital they maintain experience and a presence in the Arctic. David?
Kana Whitworth with the U.S. Navy in Anchorage tonight. Kana, thank you. When we come back, news on COVID here in the U.S., what they're now seeing in wastewater again, and what it could mean. And then later, why Dolly Parton has taken herself out of the running.
So that is where my morning is. I found, just to be cohesive with one message, I found on a UN message, I don't know what they do inside the UN. It's a glass building with a lot of flags. They say it's Security Council. No idea how you get that job, how you get involved with them, how you keep yourself up to date on what they're doing in the world. Again, living here at a time in 1978 when I was delivered, my parents were knocked out of intelligent things, or at least my mother was. I have no idea what Lewis does. It's been almost like it's actually been a nightmare to try to traverse. Going through school, following all of the directions of the adults, the few of them. There's very little mentorship, there's no fellowship, there's been very little. And so I saw the other day on the news, there's an ambassador that does not look like Admiral Houston speaking as a U.S. ambassador. Now, is she part of this civil? Because she looks like part of the civil problem I have going on in New York and up and down the northeast coast of the continental interior United States. And it seems to be a growing problem and an argument somewhere, just not quite sure where. But it is a frightening, I don't know where they're arriving from. I don't. I don't know who's sending them. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know why their numbers and ratios are growing. I don't know why what was Irish or whatever at some point, I don't know why those numbers seem to be disappearing and being replaced by something else. But the U.S. ambassador at the UN is a concerning sight because I don't know how many people have access to that level of keeping inside of the intelligence community. Again, where I've been in New York, there's been no inroads to an Air Force for myself. They've never allowed me to know how to get into service by land, by air, or by sea. It's like the routes were completely cut off, and whoever did know about it were busy doing something else. I mean, recruiting's off, it feels like. And over the last few decades, from 1970s, the decades of 1980s, 1990s, 2000, 2010, and 2020 has gotten so much exponentially worse. And I don't see any wheels in motion of keeping the interior of the 48 states. It seems like it's growing in the wrong direction. And I don't know where the brakes are or who the safety unit is or safety patrol is in order to make aware that this situation exists. Second to that, or third to that, or whatever, the walking around, my health has been hit biologically by some form of life hack. My inner rhythm of biology being my heart to my pulse in biorhythm is off, and my breathing mechanics are off. Not because of unhealthy lifestyle, although it's just living in this acclimate and having tuning in the wrong fashions. I've been hit with needles out in public, just going about my normal thing, and then wake up and not know what happened. It's happened several times in the New York area, which is even more dangerous because I have no memory of it, of what happened while I was knocked out, but I know someone does in some important feature somewhere in the world. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. It's almost like being on a game preserve and getting darted like a large animal, and then having someone do some kind of procedure, and then the animal wakes up and it's got a collar around its neck and it no longer it doesn't know what the hell happened. It's kind of like that with the heart arrhythmia and the timing mechanic on my part.